Parliament for Ipswich, and the only reason I got involved with Kurdish APPG was because I have a significant number of Kurds living in my constituency. I wasn't expecting or intending or even particularly wanting to chair anything. However, you do need to have a chair for these things, so here I am.
And what's your name?
Sandy.
Sandy.
Sandy, that was. And we have with us today Lord Glassman, who is known to his friends as Morris, so if you're friends of Morris's, and I'm sure you are, and then we have a few speakers who have not been able to join us, but after Morris in order, Mehri Rezai will speak, and then Simako Rashidi, and then Mr Zardasht Hawrami, who is not yet here, but he is on his way. And so I just wanted to say very briefly that I think we have two things. We have first of all, I think we have a duty to draw the British government's attention to what is happening to Iranian Kurds and to the Kurdish region in Iran. And some of the events that have happened recently with the Iranian government, I think, should focus people's attention on the British government actually stepping in and trying to bring some sort of level of humanity to that region. The second thing is that I know quite a lot of you and quite a lot of your families and families of other Iranian Kurdish people in this country will probably, even if you wanted to, never be able to return, or will be staying in this country at least for a very long time. And so I want to see this APPG also working to helping with the acceptance and the establishment of good community relations and the establishment of your own community and cultural groups as well within this country. And I leave it at that and go on to the people who actually know what they're talking about. And so, Morris, you wanted to say a few words?
I'm not one of those. So first of all, welcome everybody. So as Sandy says, I'm a member of the APPG. To my family, I'm Lord Glassman, but to strangers, I'm Morris. It's the way that it goes. And I just wanted to explain what is an APPG, how that functions, why we're here, what we can, what we can't, just to enable clarity. So first off, as Sandy indicated, a big thank you to you, because he just dropped into a meeting. I'm sure you all know how it goes, and he's ended up as the chair. So well done, Sandy, for stepping into that. Secondly, very big welcome to Gary Kemp, who's on the phone, but I'm sure listening very attentively. And Gary is he runs the APPG on Iraqi Kurdistan, which has been existing and does a really wonderful job. However, the problem that we confronted was there's a very specific situation going on with the Kurds in Syria. There's a very specific situation going on with the Kurds in Turkey. And there's a very specific situation which is very relevant to us about what's happening with the Kurds in Iran. And there was no place in Parliament where we could gather the information as a record. So for example, with the bomb attack recently, it came, it went. What was the consequence? Oh, that, yeah. So what the first task of the APPG is to gather the information and the facts about what's going on in relation to the Kurdish community in Iran, and by the way, with reference to other minorities too. That will come in time as we build those relationships. So there's a permanent parliamentary record of what's happening, which has been missing, which is very important when you want to make a sustained argument over time. So that's the first thing. And relating to that, it's a parliamentary grouping, so this is not a membership organisation, mass movement, political movement. Thank goodness we managed to get a couple of Conservatives to sign up, so it's all party. It's not our job to express our political opinions, which are abundant and many and huge and passionately held. The purpose of this is to have an all-party legitimate grouping, that's the goal, that can do these two things. The first is establish a parliamentary record of what is happening to the Kurdish people in Iran, and the second is to make representations to the government, which is our constitutional right, in relation to these issues, and that will have to be all party too. So it's just to say that the whole purpose of this is to begin establishing the existence of the Iranian Kurds as a political fact. That's it. So that we have a place, and you have a place. We are absolutely open to the participation of all Kurds from Iran in this process. There is no hierarchy in that, there's no exclusions in that, but it is a parliamentary group, so ultimately me and Sandy have to be in charge of that, and the other MPs in Lords. So it's not, in that sense, a party political or political ideological, which I love. It's not that. It's a record. So I just wanted to. It's a kind of beautiful thing that we began to try and get this done. And once again, huge appreciation to the Centre of Kurdish Progress and for Sandy for making it all legitimate and correct and all in order. And I just wanted to say welcome to everybody and to wish you all and this group very well as we go about our parliamentary business.
Thank you. Can I just very briefly add to that, because you reminded me about something.
You may.
Which is that I know that actually you have, as an issue, as a people that need support from the government in this country, you have a big advantage in that I think right across the board, in all the political parties in this country, there is a recognition, first of all, of what the Kurds have suffered in all four of the countries in which Kurds live, and also a really quite profound appreciation of some of the things that the Iranian government has been doing recently. You will not find that many friends of the Iranian government in the British Parliament, which means that people will actually take your situation probably more seriously than they would have done. They're not going to be making apologies for the Iranian government. So there is a real chance that we can have some really effective political work on your behalf from Conservative MPs,
yeah,
as well as from Liberal Democrat and Labour MPs. And I know that we have got some Conservative members of the APPG, indeed, and if any of the Conservative MPs are able, very often people can't come to these meetings, but if any of them are able to come and one of them wants to be the chair of this group, I would very, very gladly step down, because I think it actually would be quite helpful to have at least one of the Kurdish groups with a Conservative MP as the chair of the group, and this would be the ideal one for.
And so then, in which case I'll add a further thing, because you're dealing with politicians who can't stop making brief interventions. So we will hear from all positions, but it's not our job to take a political position on things like regime change our job is to gather as impartially and as correctly as we can the facts about what's going on in Iran, and to represent and present that to the public and to the government. Outside of that, it's party political, and that's a completely different story. It's just to clarify that this is Parliament and this is how it goes. Okay.
Brilliant. Okay, so can I ask, can we have questions at the end?
It's not question, but it seems my name is not in the list.
You're Mr.
They told me to come here and talk about Confederation Democratic.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. What's your name, sir?
Hassan Ahmadi.
Hassan Ahmadi.
Yes.
Okay.
Welcome and apologies.
Right. Okay. So what I will do is I will have Ms Mehri Rezai, and then we'll have Mr Simako.
Just arrived.
Mr Simako Rashidi.
Excuse me. After actually Mehri, Zardasht is then next. After Zardasht.
Okay, fine. So we'll have Ms Mehri Rezai, then we'll have Mr Zardasht Hawrami, then we'll have Mr Simako Rashidi, and then we'll have yourself, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's Mr Hassan Ahmadi. Right. Okay, thank you very much. So, Mr Rezai, please.
Thank you very much, everyone. It is a great pleasure to be here. Hopefully, I will represent Congress of Kurdistan. In my statement, probably I mentioned other part of the Kurdistan because I'm a member of the Congress, so it's just a touch on the other side. I will start my statement. Okay. Perspective for the solution of the problem in Iran and East Kurdistan. Since 1979 Islamic Revolution in Iran, the Iranian people and specifically the Kurdish people have suffered at the hand of the long-running dictatorship. We have witnessed a blatant disregard for human rights under a leadership which roll on fear, torture, and unlawful imprisonment of its citizens. Following Donald Trump's recent sanction against the Iran deal and threat of war, economic strike were the consequences, and thousands of people put to the street against the country's government. As a result, the Islamic Republic is now increasing its repression on the Kurdish, predominantly in northwest Iran. In August 25, 2018, 4 Kurdish environmental activists were killed under suspicious circumstances while trying to put the fire down in the woods near Mehri.
Could you make just a little bit slower so people can make
A bit slower, a bit louder. Just
Yeah.
that.
There was suggestion that the Islamic Revolution Guard killed them deliberately by shelling the area. Secondly, on September the 7th, the Iranian force ambushed and killed 4 members of KODAR near the city of Sina in Iran, Kurdistan. The next day, Islamic regime executed 3 Kurdish political prisoners and then fired several missiles at the headquarters of the Kurdistan Democratic Party of Iran in Iraq, Kurdistan. While the party Central Committee was holding a meeting, during this 15 members, including 5 members from the Central Committee, were killed. After all Kurdish political parties in Rojava called a national general strike. On September the 12th, the people in Kurdistan respond positively. In response, the Kurdish people gathered a peaceful demonstration declaring that the Kurdish people declaring that the Iran in response to sorry, I have to read that
It's
again.
okay.
In response to the people against of I think I missed my line. Positively. In response, the Kurdish people gathered a peaceful demonstration declaring that the Iranian regime cannot justify those actions, asserting their right to Kurdish people apply, engage in political activity in opposition to this oppression. In all this incident above, the Kurdish were practicing their constitutional right under the International Human Rights Declaration. Geographically, the Kurdish people cover a significant large area of land in the region. The majority of the Kurdish people cover the area of Turkey, Iran, and Syria. The Kurds have the right to decide on the form of their national self-determination. This may take a form of autonomy, federalism, or confederate. The Kurdish movement for freedom in Turkey, Iran, and Syria do not carry any separatist motivation. In the fight to achieve such an objective, the Kurdish nation assert its right to implement all forms of defense. Nevertheless, Kurdish nation reject all the use of the terror in the struggle for the freedom, equality, justice, and fairness, and obey by all human rights declaration. In the light of International Convention on Human Rights, respect for the territorial integrity of common land, and the prospect of democratic nation. The Kurdish people applied their desire to democratic autonomy as well as a national commitment to unity of people in Turkey, Iran, and Syria. Democratic autonomy as self-governing are the natural system of all community and is not intended to destroy a state and build another. But we need to begin changing the current constitution, as the constitution should not only include one religion, ethnicity, one language, or only man, and cannot defy the other diversity of its lower form. In the meantime, there are several critical points. First, the democratization of constitution by itself is not meant to be democratic transformation. A democratic constitution must define its own law and forms, legislative. In addition, other important issue is that no religion, political and authority should be able to choose their unilateral interpretation of the law and politics to oppose on the community. That is the greatest danger which threatens democratization. The society can persuade government to make the constitutional change only by organization, unification around democratization and social pressure. Therefore, it is necessary to repeat that the society does not plead the government for change and reform, but by its present, following, and applying will materialize it. Intelligence requires that the government does not disturb to the process or put the barrier in the way of its progress. On the country, the authority must accommodate itself to it, and it would try to adapt and change to the people's rights demand. So it is not the society that has to change and submit it to the logic of the state, but the state has to decrease its angle with the society and it will toward democracy. In order for a democratic synthesis to be created. On other hand, there should be insist on this point that the democratization of Iran is not only the responsibility of the government. The responsibility lies also with the society, people, women, and intellectuals. Those that spend their energy positively or negatively on domination without preparing the society are not considered a part of involved forces in the democratization process. The fundamental necessity of participation and effectiveness in the democratic process is it for it to be socially based. Forces that believe the performing of all affairs is the task and responsibility of the government and authority have not understood the core of democracy properly or genuinely would be isolated or potential self of the authority, or perhaps became potential tyrant which inevitably lead to the corruption. For this reason, the experience shown of past 4 decades has shown that the local council, rather than being a place for participation of public in the local management, have become a place for discrimination, favoritism, and administration corruption. Exactly for this reason, people have to reclaim this territory from opportunities and elect individuals who don't have a corrupt background, carefully and sensitively. society should not only society should not rely only electing individuals, but also to monitor their performing and keeping them in the position where they are holding and accountable.
Thank you. Thank you. So, Mr Rashidi, please. Oh, Ms Hawrami, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I've got my
Teething troubles,
Yeah.
teething troubles.
I have too much pages here to read, but actually this is a roadmap of the KODAR, the Democratic Society of the East of the Kurdistan. But I just can pass you after my just little bit of speech here, because I briefly writing it to 3 pages. And KODAR is completely different by other political party. We are not political party, we are system. Because we believe it, the regime is not going to change by single party or some movement or organizations. We believe at the moment the regime they control all society by different organizations like Basij, Sepah, Itla'at, or youngs, women's, and others, which all they give the benefits to governments. And we have to establish our system against the system, but our system is democratic. So briefly, I'm going to read it about it. So there was a growing violence in Iraq. We know it's more than 40 years ago. Every day we have a torture, we have a kill the people, hanging. We know everything about the Iranian Kurds. Unfortunately, the Western countries, all they're looking for the self-interest. But in other hands, we have some party, which is our friends. We are here to say, we are not coming here just to say, we need a help, please help us. We came here to understand each other, because the time is changed. World is changed. So we, as a Kurds, we have a new generation. We want to say we are here to be as a friend with the world and to pass to each other the democracy to our land. Because we believe if our land will be war, and London will be war too. In Rojava, in North Syria, we've seen the ISIS attack all the world, all the human values, and our brothers and sisters, they pay the blood theirs because of everyone who they live in now in the London and everywhere. KODAR, the Free and Democratic Society of the East Kurdistan. In May 2015, KODAR was established in Freedom Mountains, based of the philosophy of Confederalism Society, Free Society. The leadership across all sections of the KODAR is established by the joint management of the male and female. Women and their presence is the key of the reaching a democratic society. Environment, subject, and issues another main of the policy of the KODAR. Neither KODAR is a party nor a temporarily united faction, but its social system as a substitute for the nation-state system. KODAR believes that authority in Iran cannot be changed with one or a set of the parties. The objective of the KODAR are not just a change to current government or to rule over Kurdistan. We believe that the most important objective is to implement a democratic system that prevents the re-emerge of the centralized system and dictatorship. In this system, every individual and communes has a role. Society's freedom, persevering nation values, religions, beliefs, and personal freedoms are the red lines for KODAR. Our alternative for the keeping course within the frame of the Iran in the system of democratic confederalism instead of the federalism, because we believe that federalism for Iran and other nations in the Middle East cannot be the good way for the control, the governing and self-governing as well. We see in Iraq, we have a Kirkuk, one of our city, everyday war. In Iran, we are as a Kurds have many cities. We at the moment Azeri Kurd, Azeri Persian, Azeri other religions living together. We are like brothers and sisters. So we engaged together in 1,000 years ago. So federalism, fight for land, is not far for our nations in Iran. We just recommend the confederalism system. We believe that the democratic nation must be organized in order to be prepared for democratic confederalism system. In the current area, using nationalism or religion for organizing the society or establishing organization is destined to fail. We believe in sharing the society management to society with all of these natural trails. In terms of the belief and religions, the East Kurdistan geography is home of the Yarsan, which is one of the oldest religion in the world, and the Mesopotamia, Jewish, Christian, Shia Muslim, Shia Sunni, and Zoroastrian. In cultural and linguistic terms, East Kurdistan holds Hawrami, Sorani, Kurmanji, Lori, and Laki. A democratic nation can satisfy the identity demands under the frame of the self-governance. KODAR is an umbrella for everyone with their own independent identity. For example, we have some Hawrami people in North Iraq, which are Kurdish. Unfortunately, in 26 years, they're ruling by Kurdish government in North Iraq that doesn't have any right for the speaking and listening their mother language. They're just like a nation state, one language, one flag, and one ethnic groups that rule the governing area. So we don't want to repeat this kind of experience in the Iranian Kurdistan. We reject the current regime's way of social management, where one party or group take hold the party with the support of the influent minority. KODAR is social democratic system. In this system, communes manage society through direct democracy. Communes can operate and organize irrespective of the location. Let it be local communes, village communes, urban communes, or work-related communes, workers, women, youngs, environmental, and other organizations, and all those they express their existence in the society can have a share in the management of the society despite the difference in genders, identity, nationality, or religions beliefs as an alternative to centralized government. Government plus direct democracy can be used in order to reduce the friction and conflict with the authority. We believe that we cannot change the state rules in short term, but we can support the right democracy and direct democracy to reduce all the violence in north and east or other part of the Kurdistan. KODAR will have a defensive system to protect itself. The society requires protecting itself against internal and foreign violations. We believe that the society with our defense forces cannot sustain itself just as a flower's poses thrown to protect itself. The society also requires a force that is not alien to its value. KODAR aims to establish a defensive force that made up of male and female branches to protect the Kurds in East Kurdistan. We believe that parties and establishments must organize the society both politically and ideologically. In contrast, having scattered armed parties increases the risk of civil war. From experience of another part of the Kurdistan, we have learned that one or a few political parties cannot keep up with the society demands. KODAR is a transit from classical national movement and single diminutional society of Kurds. East Kurdistan, Rojhelat Kurdistan, is colorful mosaic of Western governments with the current Iranian rules, is an antagonism of human and democratic ideals. The current government is the opposite of the role of the people in management. Kurdish parties and even the Iranian opposition are only considering their own member instead of the comprehensive capability of the people. As a result, the opposition and Iranian parties are splitting frequently. The risk of these subjects must be studied at the assessment. The traditional parties are coming up with the idea of becoming the authority in the society, change the sovereignty, replace the previous rule, and those liberate people. We believe that as a KODAR in the last century, many governments came and gone and changed it, but people not got liberated. We believe that the system should be changed. Especially they give the rule to women and youngs in the governing the self. In the last century of Middle East history, we have witnessed that change of the rulers of characters have not liberated the society. In current area, no one believes the claim of traditional parties. People demand to have a rule and self-management themselves. For instance, the Iraqi Kurdistan is still unable to satisfy the basic demand of the people 26 years after its autonomy and mass immigration of the youngs in European view. The lack of the security and social justice is a testimony to this fact. The provide of single party sovereignty and small dictatorship has come to an end as a KODAR is alternative to this date ended. KODAR prefer if all ideologies and parties which values tend the human and democratic value can engage with democratic system to play a role. So this is all about briefly about the KODAR. Actually, we have the big statement here. I can pass to each one of you. So KODAR is a system that they want to improve the society and they give the rule to people, because we are tired of some classical party just to say we've been as a party in the last century still till now. But they ignore the rule of the people, the power of the people. So we believe that Iranian Kurds should have a one army faction, which is divided between men and women. At the moment, we have some Iranian Kurdish party, which everyone have the gun. This is danger for our future. So we are not agree with anyone to support the parties with the gun for in the next term of the governing in the Iranian Kurdistan of the Iran. The KODAR in the last 2 years had a big project for Iran. This project, there was a name platform of the nation and organization Democratic, which we established in the last year in the European countries. We invite all the political party, all the women organization, all green parties to join our new platform to change the Iran to democratic way. So this is my words. Here I'm going to end to my words. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone for coming here.
Speak
Louder. Thank you everyone for coming. As a member of PJAK in the UK, we also prepared a statement for you. So we are going to. And unfortunately, I didn't print it. So
read
I'm
off your
just
screen. You have permission.
Exactly. So with your permission, I'm reading the statement. As of end of year 2018, the conditions in Iran differs many aspects from previous years.
That's a slow.
Slowly. After 40 years of the Islamic Republic ruling, this government is suffering from the worst situation both internally and externally. Simultaneously, the social awareness and the demands of people have reached a high maturity level. This phenomenon was also observed in the latest nationwide strikes. Over the past 4 decades, the people of Iran have been deprived of any rights to protest or express a demand that is unpleasant to the regime. People's slightest outrage towards the forced law has been responded with the greatest punishment by the government. Thus, after all these years, the inefficient and corrupt nature of the true face of government is revealed. The denial of people's right through legal channels and the arrival of fundamentalist reformist government streams has reached a deadlock. The people are running out of patience, as this was seen in January of 2018 with a series of nationwide protests. Surely such massive popular protests should be considered a turning point in contemporary Iranian history, which had an irreversible consequences for society and the government. The protests were the most widespread and radical uprising since the beginning of the current regime's ruling. The protests are the result of increasing denial of people's right for living freely and the concentration of wealth and power among chosen few. The popular and legitimate protest was held with the sporadic participating of people, but it was spread throughout the nations of Iran in a short time, and the voice of freedom-seeking people caught the world's attention. However, the ways at the expense of tens of lives and torturing thousands of citizens, still many of the freedom-seeking men and women are detained in the hands of the oppressive regime, leaving thousands of Iranian families grieving. Despite its shortcomings and problems, even the Constitution of Iran recognizes the right of peaceful protest for Iranian citizens, yet throughout the Islamic Republic of Iran history, the regime has denied the right of self-express and protest from the Iranian people and deliberately prevented the implementation of constitutional clauses. The ruling government is aware of their lack of legitimacy in society and among people of Iran. Therefore, it attempted to resolve the legitimacy crisis by holding demonstrative and fraudulent elections, or by creating crisis outside its border. In this approach, the regime pretends to take a hostile attitude towards the United States and Israel via the policy of anti-war in order to frighten people and create unity under the pretext of an external enemy threat. Whereas in practice, Iran has not taken any measures in fighting against Israel or the United States. The policy is known as the politics of enemy making, an imitation of Hitler, of unity to unity the people to consolidate the society. It prepares the people for obedience towards the government and allows the brutal suppression of popular opposition with the stigma of being affiliated with foreign enemies. The people of Iran, despite all the government pressure and with all the dangers of seeking liberation, had a series of nationwide protests. As a result, they had revealed the regime's true face and the government's internal weaknesses to the world. In addition, the international powers, such as the United States and and Russia, tried to get more concessions from the Iranian government in different ways. At the same time, with increasing pressure from people and foreign powers, the internal crisis, inefficiently, and internal corruption of the system have become more obvious. The economic crisis has also reached its peak, which the people of Iran and marginalized groups of society were its main victim. Under maximum pressure from the government on society and the heavily guarded atmosphere, one can label the situation as a 40 years of military rule in Iran. The people have not surrendered to the regime and have not abandoned their demands. The latest manifestation of the people's legitimate demands and the increasing awareness of the people of Iran can be seen in the nationwide strikes. The best examples of recent strikes were the multi-stage general strikes launched by truck drivers and the general strikes across Kurdistan in protestation against the execution of Kurdish youth or the recent teacher strike. These protests defeated all repressive policies of the regime, and under current circumstances, protests have become the most efficient means of the society against the regime. Taken the current situation, the government's direction for the last 40 years and the people's struggle into consideration, one can conclude that the Islamic Republic of Iran lacks serious intentions to reform or change the situation. However, the people are on a completely different path and even have demanded that do not fit within the current constitution framework. Therefore, the government has no other choice other than retreating from the past policy of threat and repression, but to accept the demand of the people. Improve relations with the world, and recognize the right of protest for the peoples and minority groups of the society in Iran. Moreover, any instances on previous wrong policies and ignoring the society can lead to the same fate of dictators of the Arab world, one that can bring the tremendous and irreparable cost to Iranian futures.
And finally, Mr. Hassan Ahmedi, is that right?
Yes, yeah. Actually, I'm trying to follow our colleagues' points, and a little bit I try to explain about this Democratic Confederation platform, which fortunately that covered a lot of Kurdish opposition groups, which we are sitting here and working together, and also we are hoping another opposition, leftish opposition, also to understand us and join us, because we think this platform has got a solution.
Okay.
Mr.
Ahmedi, before you carry on, can I just ask you, do you have a group that you represent at all?
Actually, so we are together with our colleagues.
Yeah, Mr. Hassan is part of the democratic movement of nations and organizations in Iran.
In Iran, yeah. Shall I follow?
Yeah, please.
I think our friend and colleagues already explained about the situation of the Islamic regime of Iran, which it's better to say Islamic fascist regime of Iran, because their record during the 40 years that shows very clear. So they didn't respect any human rights, basic rights, and women rights, and the peoples and the nations in different places, like Kurdish rights, Arab rights, actually Turkish rights in different places around Iran, and all the time, and also the workers' right as well. Yeah, because as you see, for example, the workers, they go to the strike just for basic rights, and they set up their organization, and after a while they will be arrested and they put in the prison and torture, and so we had some workers delegates. We has been lashed because it was a delegate of actually the workers. So that's why I'm saying the Islamic regime of Iran, so it's brutal regime, and so I think we all, and also the people of Iran, they reached to in that position. There is not any place for reform of this regime. We should get rid of that. And at the end, we will see. So recently there was a lot of revolution, a lot of uprising, not only in Middle East, also in Africa and they call it Arab Spring. And unfortunately, the people, they uprised, and so what replaced against another kind of dictators, and the people, they left alone. Yeah. That's why I think this democratic federation platform, which actually as a suggestion with a variety of the groups they set up and they put their programs, they put three main messages point, which can be the solution, I think, not only for Iran, not only for Iraq and Syria and Turkey in Middle East. We think that could be a good idea, a good system for the world. Why? Because we are not able to find any country, even the Scandinavia or here or things, to have we don't believe there is a real democracy. There is parliamentary democracy, but the people after the 4 years, they come and they vote, and then the delegate or whatever prime minister, they decide what to do about Brexit or that, and the people, they don't know what's going on. And that's why, so this system involved locally involved in the councils and commons, wherever they live and wherever they work, they involve them to the actually directly to the political, economic, and all aspects of their agenda. Yeah, and not only that, also we got some experience from the Rojava movement. Because the Rojava movement has got three good principles. Another principles with the local government and the commons in the local, ruled by people directly and self-management by them. There is another one which is ecology, because at the moment, as you see, so all the politicians, they try to deny about the problem of the planet. So planet is going to destroy if we don't do urgently anything. So that's why that's one of the main issues we put it on our agenda. If we produce anything in factory and things in a society, so we should look after the ecology and environment, which is very important. Another thing, half of the population is the women. All the time they left alone, and in these programs they put the women so equal to the men, to the all aspect of the position for decision-making process. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to ask Lord Glassman to say a few words now, and then I think we've got half an hour for questions.
It's just that this is outside the frame of the APPG, just for a second. It's just a point of information. On the 15th of February, it's going to be the 20th anniversary since Öcalan was captured. And we're going to have an all-day in Parliament seminar on Öcalan's thoughts. I'm just hearing about democratic federalism on the different themes that have come up in all the different talks. Is of interest. There's going to be one session on democratic federalism, another session on women's leadership, another session precisely on what you're talking about in terms of the environment, and a fourth session on the relevance of Öcalan's thought for the Middle East. It would be very good if one of you could agree among yourselves, could give a talk about the relevance for Iran, and to contact the Centre for Kurdish Progress, which is helping to organise that. It's just for you to know that that's going on. And that's booked all day in Committee Room 1 on February the 15th to mark the 20th anniversary of Öcalan's capture and the relevance of his thought for the politics moving forward. But that's not part of the APPG, it's just to let you know, and having heard the comments, I thought it would be relevant. Thank you.